Hello, everyone. I have a hot topic to take up tonight, which is where's the FBI? So many people have written to me and asked the question, why hasn't anyone done anything about this? The abuse of Scientology, their corrupt criminal activities. We've been exposing their abuse and human rights violations and human trafficking and uh, other crimes for 18 years. And it seems like they're getting away with it scot-free. And, earlier an FBI investigation was being done, and we really wonder what happened to that investigation. And I want to talk about that investigation and what was revealed to the FBI and different things that transpired during that time, and go over that in detail, because all of that information is still valid to this day, and something needs to be done about Scientology and their abuse. I'm very happy that Leah has now sued Scientology and David Miscavige for their continued abuse of her for speaking out and giving other people a voice. And hopefully justice will take place with that. But in the meantime, on the overall big picture of Scientology, the FBI is allowing a criminal organization to go unchecked. So I wanted to start back in 2009 when this all began. Now I have to figure out how to share my screen because I've got some stuff for you. So the first thing that happened was I did a series of exposés with the St. Petersburg Times, with regard to the abuse that happened at the top of Scientology management, and that David Miscavige was beating his staff bad, really bad, and confining people and, sending people to different continents away from their family members and different things like that, all kinds of different things. And so I started exposing it. I also wrote my book, Scientology Abuse at the Top, um, and that hadn't been released yet, but I was definitely in the middle of it at this time. And I spoke to Anderson Cooper 360 about it on that whole Inchwives episode. It was a week-long series that Anderson Cooper did, which revealed the abuse that was going on, and also with ABC. Now, ABC sent me some documents from Scientology that meant to disprove everything that the whistleblowers were saying, and I'll show that to you. So this is an email from Margaret Burbank from ABC News Nightline of 8 October 2009. And it says, "Hi, Amy. I wanted to forward these affidavits to you that were sent to us by the church. I believe you have seen these during your communication with the St. Petersburg Times, but I wanted to give you the opportunity to respond to us about the specific claims made about you. If you would like to, feel free to email me responses, or we can speak about it over the phone. Let me know. Maggie." Okay. And then it had all these documents. And what these documents included was like so many affidavits from Scientology executives that I used to work with about how David Miscavige is a saint above all saints, and he has never lifted a finger, and he's never even raised his voice. But the people who are speaking out are the ones who were the treacherous people. And I'll show you some of these quotes, some quotes from that. So let's go like this. Whoops, I go like this, share screen, and I go to the first set of affidavits, quotes. Okay. And I'm gonna add that to the stream. I'm gonna go over here and make it bigger. I'm learning all this. Okay, so proof of violence at the International Management Headquarters in Hemet, California, in their own words, from declarations made under penalty of perjury by current Scientology executives. Jennifer Linson wrote, 28 July 2009. This is just a quote from very many pages, but it says, at that time, Rathbun beat Mike Rinder to the point of almost killing him, choking him on the floor until he turned purple. I was scared. 5 men had to pull him off Mike. Okay. Almost to the point of killing him. This is what they're witnessing. They didn't call any police. Sue Wilhare, 30 July 2009 declaration. In 2001, Rathbun grabbed Lyman Spurlock by the jaw and shook him violently against a wall in Mr. Spurlock's office, clenching his throat while doing so. Also in 2001, Rathbun, acting as if he were a madman, physically shoved Hansuli Stali, smaller than Marty Rathbun, by nearly a foot, so severely he staggered, lost his balance, and went flying backwards down a hallway and was visibly in pain and shock. Rathbun cared nothing for the ill effect he had created. Between 2001 and 2003, Rathbun repeatedly attacked Norman Starkey, a man in his 60s, a co-worker and a friend of mine. On approximately 18 occasions, I witnessed Rathbun physically abuse Norman Starkey. This included shoving him hard against an office counter, pushing him against a bunch of chairs where Norman lost his balance and fell to the ground, and another time throwing him into a glass conference room table. Now, this 18 times, okay? So another time, Rathbun came up behind Norman, hit him hard in the head from behind, yanked him out of his chair, punched and shoved him to the ground, seriously hurting his back, which caused Norman to be in agony for a week. Rathbun was assigned to his peers, the people he had mishandled, to be dealt with. Even during this time, he could not restrain himself from being violent. In January 2004, I witnessed him straddling Mike Rinder on the floor, choking him. Several big men had to drag him off Rinder, who was going blue in the face. Mark Ingber, 28 July 2009 declaration. In 1998, Rathbun walked into my office. I was the commanding officer of CMO International. CMO is the Commodore's messenger organization. And out of the blue, and with no expressed reason, walked up to me, grabbed me, and pulled me out of my chair, shoved me into a wall, and then walked out. He was steaming and looked insane, but said nothing. Then in January 2004, I witnessed Rathbun punching and choking Rinder, requiring more than 5 men to pull Rathbun off Rinder. Yeah, Scientology sends this packet of all these affidavits to ABC Nightline and the St. Petersburg Times to say that, David Miscavige never beat anybody. And in their testimonies, under penalty of perjury, they're saying, yeah, David Miscavige was lily white. But meantime, abuse is happening with great abandon on the international headquarters base, and they don't seem to do anything about it. So this is what I did about it. So I responded to ABC Nightline about these affidavits, and this is what I said. To Margaret regarding the church response to Amy Scobee's report of witnessed abuse. I reported several instances of physical abuse committed by David Miscavige that I personally witnessed. His response was to question my sexual purity and executive capabilities, which is irrelevant, non sequitur, and frankly a red herring. The fact is, I saw what I saw. Another 3 formerly high-ranking members, Marty Rathbun, Mike Rinder, and Tom DeVocht, reported specific instances where David Miscavige violently attacked them and others. The church response was to provide a dozen sworn affidavits from their current top executives, recounting scores of specific instances where they witnessed Marty, Mike, or Tom physically assaulting other high-level church members over the years while claiming Miscavige was pure and innocent. In my view, these quote-unquote executives have no scrap of personal integrity left to deny the facts under the penalty of perjury to protect their abusive leader. However, they also somehow fail to see the massive significance of their admittance. If these people are the leaders of the church, then how is it that they can witness such commonly occurring and brutal physical attacks per their own reports, yet they neither handled it internally nor reported it to the proper authorities? The answer can only be that these quote-unquote church leaders consider this behavior at the top levels to be acceptable, or they somehow lack the ability to do anything about it. Either way, it's ample evidence that urgent intervention external to the church is required. These legally sworn statements from Scientology's highest leaders should be all the evidence needed for authorities to take immediate action. Amy Scobee. Yes, that's what I think. So, just a couple days after that, I decided to write to the FBI with these wonderful affidavits of Scientology's, and I'm going to read you the letter that I sent to them. So, you have to go into this thing, you have to go into the share screen, you have to go into the Okay, so where is it? Letter to the FBI. Okay. And I need to blow that up. All right. And then go in here and add to stream. And then go over here where I can read it big. It says, to the FBI at 3480 Vine Street, Suite 200, Riverside, California, 92507 on 12 October 2009. Physical abuse, assault and battery occurring at the international headquarters of the Church of Scientology International at 19625 Highway 79, Gilman Hot Springs, California. My home for 20 years. Dear sirs, hello. My name is Amy Lorraine Scobee. My current address is 665 Bay Esplanade, number 4, Clearwater Beach, Florida, 33767, and my phone number is blank. My date of birth is blank. I am a former member of the Church of Scientology and lived at the Hemet compound for 20 years from December 1983 to July 2003. I mostly went by Amy Mortland at that time, as I was married to James Kenneth Mortland during 17 years of those years. I have recently spoken out about several instances of physical abuse I witnessed being dished out by the current head of the church, David Miscavige, while on staff there. My accounts can be seen at tampabay.com, St. Petersburg Times 3-part series entitled The Truth Rundown, which also includes a series of video interviews at the same length from myself and numerous other ex-staff from the Hemet compound. I've additionally informed CNN, Anderson Cooper 360, and ABC Nightline, who are separately coming out with stories on the matter. In response to myself and a few others blowing the whistle on their leader, several of the current church executives put together a series of affidavits stating Miscavige is innocent. However, they proceed to cover in detail several beatings they say did occur over a several-year period, which are very severe in nature, swearing to the fact under penalty of perjury. You can find the affidavits on the attached CD. These documents were sent to me by ABC for my comment as part of their upcoming news story. One affidavit from Jennifer Linson says, at that time, Rathman beat Mike Rinder to the point of almost killing him, choking him on the floor until he turned purple. I was scared. 5 men had to pull him off Mike. Our insistence that he take responsibility for the harm he had done to the group, resulting in his blowing up and attacking Mike. These affidavits are full of such examples. They seem to be clueless that these acts are against the law, that police should have been called, arrests should have been made. But they instead kept it secret amongst themselves, though it was going on as routine by their own testimonies. I did not witness the examples of abuse they report here, though I did see David Miscavige hurt several executives, and my write-up for that is attached. I also recommend someone interview Marty Rathman and Mike Rinder, as from what I understand, the beatings escalated since I left to out-and-out torture. Examples: tying a man named Tom Worm's hands to a chair, and then repeatedly hitting his face back and forth with a fly swatter until it was so swollen that his eyes couldn't open. Forcing several of the executives to only walk on their knees until they were so infected while denying any medical attention. Marty told me that Mike has scars on his knees to prove it. Forcing Kirk Wieland to sit in a freezing cold room with ice water being dumped on him until he was uncontrollably shaking and turning purple. A lot of this stuff executed by a Russ Bellin on orders of David Miscavige. Marty recently posted a correspondence he is having with Tom Cruise's attorney, Burt Fields, which I've attached. In the enclosed letter, Marty details group beatings of some of the top executives at David Miscavige's orders. Marty Ratham can be contacted at this number. Mike Rinder can be contacted at this number. Of course, I am more than willing to assist in any way I can. I worked there for 20 years. I know these people well. There were hot tempers, and Miscavige really lost his cool several times and physically went after staff, as I cover in my reports. But I'm very afraid it has spiraled way out of control and needs immediate investigation and intervention. Thank you, Amy Scobee. This was written 12 October 2009. I had no idea that an ongoing investigation was already happening by the FBI when I wrote that. I wrote that just out of like, I heard, well, I had met with Marty, and he told me these different things that Mike had told him at the time. And I said, this isn't minor. This isn't just like, hey, I'm upset because he punched some people. No, this is out and out torture. 100 people locked in the side-by-side trailers at the int base with the doors and windows bolted, security guards posted so no one could escape, and that's being held without against your will. Does You can't say that they're not, that they want that. It's such a joke. This is our ecclesiastical justice. Okay, well, you're insane, and it's against the law, and it's human trafficking, and it's human abuse, and human right violations, and insane, and stupid, and corrupt, and criminal, and cannot be done anywhere in the world. So why are you getting away with it? Where you can lock people up. You say that they want it that way. They wanted the bars and windows. I don't think so, because the people who escaped said they didn't want it. I'm laughing because you guys are so freaking insane. Can it get more insane than that? We're exercising our rights for ecclesiastical justice. You don't have any rights, Scientology. You don't have any right to abuse people. You don't have any right to confine people, to beat people, to tear apart families, to empty bank accounts. You have so many crimes that have been covered up over the years. Anyway, the next thing I wanted to show you was the Tampa Bay Times, because, well, I sent this letter to the FBI, and then not that long after, I think it was the 5th of December, an FBI agent came out to Florida to meet with me and Matt. And it was funny because they didn't want to tell anybody at the local FBI offices where we were going to have my meeting what the investigation was that they were doing, who I was, where I was from, or anything, because they said they don't trust that FBI office because they are in Scientology's backyard and all this stuff is going on there. So it was like hush hush, scooted off into this one room, and I spent several hours with the FBI agent. Her name was Trisha Whitehill, and I told her everything that I could think of. How they confiscate passports, that they lock them up, that where they hold people, all about the Rehabilitation Project Force and how that's a slave labor camp and mind-altering indoctrination camp, how David Miscavige beats people and confines people, and just their policies on going after people after they leave, so you can't just shake them off. And oh yeah, forced disconnection with families. I mean, they're interfering in every single aspect of people's lives, and they're just insane. And so I told them everything and anything I could think of. for hours and hours and hours. She was there for 2 days with Matt and I. And then she met with Matt too, and he had a lot of information too, because not only was he at the int base, he had a lot of information about what goes on at the flag land base as well, because he had to finance a lot of activity to get people to hide people whenever something happened, like if anyway, if something bad happened and the people had to be gotten out of the either country or the state or something like that. He's rushing money through for situations like that and different things. He's exposed some of it in our recent interviews, but he did a video called that I named Scientology cover-ups, and so he has a lot of information. And so all of that information was given to the FBI. They met with Matt in some closed restaurant. They didn't even want to take him because he's known locally. He worked at the Flag Land Base for 20 years, so they didn't want to take him in the building at all. So they went to some closed restaurant and met for several hours. I got Trisha's business card and I gave her different documents that I had, and so I knew that the FBI investigation was going on, and it was happening. So now the St. Petersburg Times, I'm going to show you. Okay, one second while I get it up, while I figure this out. Okay, present. Stop screen. What does that mean? Okay. Okay, share screen. And now I'm going to go to Tampa Bay Times. This is FBI's Scientology investigation, balancing the First Amendment with charges of abuse and forced labor. So this was put out in January 2013. You should read the entire article and look that up, but I'm going to go to a couple points that they brought up that I highlighted here, which is, it says, Scientology's own documents, however, reveal a long-standing pattern of physical assault within the ranks. In 2009, the church gave the Times sworn statements from 22 Sea Org members who said 3 former church officers, Rathbun, Rinder, and Tom DeVocht, had attacked co-workers before leaving the Sea Org. The church's intent was to discredit the 3 men as news sources and show they were the brutal ones, not Miscavige. But the documents never explained why church officers were allowed to continue punching, slapping, and choking people for years by the church's own admission. Yeah, explain that one, Scientology. Staffers reported being thrown against walls, jerked by the collar, led by the ear, taken down in headlocks, and tackled in their offices. More than 100 incidents over a decade. Some workers stated they were afraid to complain. Yeah. And then later, it's saying, 1 month after interviewing Rathbun, Whitehill traveled to Clearwater and questioned Rinder, DeVocht, and Amy Scobee, the other whistleblower in the Times story, The Truth Rundown. The 3 lived then in Central Florida. Scobee had mailed to the FBI 13 sworn statements written by church officers who branded Rinder and Rathbun as violent. ABC Television had provided the documents to her, seeking her comment for an upcoming story. They seem to be clueless that these acts are against the law, she wrote to the FBI. Police should have been called. She reiterated the point in a meeting with Whitehill and described other abuses she had seen during 26 years on the inside. Okay. Whitehill met Scobee's husband, Matt Pesh, on that same trip in a restaurant at the Clearwater Beach Hilton. 27 years in the Sea Org, he had worked at the int base and as a finance officer in Clearwater. Restrictions on staffers are tight in Clearwater too, he said. The 1,000 or so Sea Org members who staff Scientology's worldwide spiritual headquarters are isolated and watched closely by church security. No one runs away without being pursued. He drew Whitehill a map showing where staffers' passports were kept in a locked filing cabinet in a downtown church building. She surprised him with a question. Could he infiltrate the Sea Org and send out information? Yeah, I think I could. How would you do that? Knock on the door of OSA, the Office of Special Affairs. I tell them I want to be on the church's side. They'd be motivated to talk to me. How would they check you out? They'd put me on the e-meter, Pesh said. That's the device similar to a lie detector that Scientologists use in counseling sessions. Could you beat it? I think I could. Whitehill said he shouldn't get too excited. It was just an idea, not a request. When he got home, he told Scobee. No way you're doing that, she said firmly. I mean, give me a break. Are you kidding me? You're not going anywhere. Anyway, he's like, well, if they needed me to. Yeah, I know. It's like a thing where you'll we all several of us who have left are willing to go through pains and agonies and whatever to get the truth about Scientology out to people. We've gotten, you know, you know what they do to people. We're willing to stick our neck out and and get the word out despite the consequences. And even to go back in. But anyway, I really just I think there's a line to be drawn because number one, I wouldn't go, and so then we would be separated. I don't think so. Scientology, you separated so many families. We're not going to do it again, even if the cause is to have somebody undercover. Let's figure somebody else out. Oh, that was too much. This two-part series is based on extensive interviews with at least 15 witnesses who participated in the FBI investigation of the Church of Scientology. It also draws on a diverse collection of records, many of which support the witnesses' accounts. The Times reviewed police reports, court documents, witnesses' letters to FBI investigators, email exchanges between agents and witnesses, and other notes and writings compiled by witnesses. And the thing that's funny is, despite that, Scientology says there was no FBI investigation. I want to know from the FBI what happened to your investigation. I think we deserve an answer to that. We have, come forward. We have put our own selves at risk to expose the abusive cult. We've spent a lot of time with your agents. And now it's just like all, brushed under the carpet. We need an answer. How is it that this stuff can continue to go on? How is it that it can just be dropped? Who's paying who? Follow the money. That's what I always say, because people will do terrible things because of money and greed. The right thing to do is to shut down that organization that's a complete abusive organization that's using tax-exempt money to attack whistleblowers. Anyway, the FBI needs to get off its butt, in my opinion, and get a proper investigation done and get that place shut down. David Miscavige needs to be in jail for his repeated, unbelievable abuse of his staff. Also, somebody needs to look into David Miscavige's finances. Really? Like, how is he using Scientology money? I mean, we all have examples of him flying off to this place, flying off to that place, scuba diving, getting yachts, doing all this stuff with Tom Cruise, getting this motorcycle, that motorcycle, getting all the staff to pay from their almost zero pay for his stupid birthday and Christmas gifts. And he's just it's such a con. It's a total con. And he's out of control. The whole place is out of control, as witnessed by their own affidavits, and something needs to be done about it. So I'm going to continue to speak out. I'm going to continue to let people know what I know about Scientology and the inner workings of Scientology from my experience of being there for so dang long. And it wasn't for nothing. And no, Matt is not going back into Scientology undercover. He's staying with me. So that we can keep fighting this thing together. Anyway, so that's the latest and the greatest. That's the history of what happened on my end. I'm sure that other people have a lot of stories on their end, um, but I have Trisha Whitehill's FBI card. I've got, oh, I can even show it to you. Let's see if I have it here. Slides. Your computer. 1 second. Because I hate it when people say, it didn't happen. Okay. Did I just make this up? No. How it's so ridiculous when Scientology says there was no FBI investigation when we all have specifics. Okay. How would I get Trisha Whitehill's FBI card if I didn't meet her? She handwrote on there what her personal email address was and her cell phone so that I could contact her. And okay, so there's one thing. Here's another thing. This is when I lived in Spanaway, Washington, because I had just moved from Clearwater, and I had given her some documents that she was sending back to me. And so this is the FedEx, from the FBI. So you can say there was no FBI investigation. Nobody saw these people from the FBI. Scientology, you look stupid because you are. And then the other thing I wanted to say was Trisha Whitehill was so moved by our story that she had a person contact me that was in the human trafficking department of the FBI, who's responsible for getting victims of human trafficking medical treatment, housing, jobs, and everything like that. And they contacted me saying, let me help you. Because we were recently out, we were being attacked, we were being followed by them. I just gotten my medical examination, which didn't look good. They said basically, I don't even see how you can get out of bed with these results. And you basically, if this isn't fixed right away, you basically have 2 years to live. Well, anyway, it was fixed right away. And I didn't take them up on their offer of help because, with my Sea Org mentality, it was like, I'm just going to make it go right and push through. But it was just very moving that somebody would actually contact me and say, we're here to help. We understand that you've been through trauma. We understand that you've been through abuse, and we are here to set you up with any resources you may need to get you on the right path to recovery. That's a big plus from the FBI. And I remember her name was Deborah. She kept calling me just to check on me and make sure everything was okay. Anyway, okay, FBI, you have some good people in there. You have some people who really do care. So let's get an investigation relaunched. You have a bunch of information already. And, I'm here. I'm willing to help as well. I know the people there very, very well. And I know the mindset of a Scientologist and a Sea Org member when it's everything to you. So I know how that works. Use us. Anyway, thank you for listening, everybody. More later. Don't forget to go to my website and get my book, Scientology, Abuse at the Top. And also subscribe and like this video and share it so that we can get the word out. All right. Bye now.